on Taiwan. I'm Ethan Liu with news from here in Taiwan and around the world. A suspect in Monday's shooting death in Tainan has been arrested in Kaohsiung. Local Fishermen's Association Chair Lin Shijie was killed outside his home. The suspect, surnamed Zhang, was identified thanks to DNA found on a face mask left in an escape vehicle. Authorities are still investigating whether Zhang was the shooter in the attack. Police say Zhang has a history of violent behavior. Firefighters, police, and other civil servants say they're determined to win the right to form unions, rejecting fresh government efforts at compromise. As John Ventres reports, it's the latest chapter in the struggle over who gets to bargain and strike.
It's been almost 10 months since this fatal factory fire in southern Taiwan energized a labor movement. 4 firefighters were killed, and when it emerged that the factory violated safety rules, their colleagues were outraged. Firefighters demanded the right to form unions, something Taiwan doesn't allow for civil servants. The most they're allowed is a semi-union that can't do collective bargaining agreements or call strikes. And despite their protests, the government still says these unions are the way forward. On Thursday, the cabinet approved changes that make it easier for civil servants to form these special associations.
本次修法主要是为了提供公务人员结社权益、完善制度及保障，让公务人员协会充分发挥积极性的功能，促进公务部门劳动关系的和谐。
The government branch that deals with civil service exams has approved the changes too. It says letting first responders strike could be dangerous.
公务员其实担负公共任务跟这个公共安全的部分。如果说公务员罢工，其实会造成很大的不安。在历次我们也都表达，希望在协会法上面来加强公务同仁对他们的权益保障的需求。
But firefighters say the associations are still hard to form. A union takes just 30 people, but an association 150 to 300. And in any case, they say, the associations are toothless when it comes to labor disputes.
不支持，因为它成立门槛很高，然后争议的管道只有单一的管道，然后它也没有办法签订团体协约，完全没有回应到我们基层主工会的诉求。
And it isn't just firefighters. Police and court clerks have their own groups airing labor grievances and demanding unions. An umbrella group for them all, the Coalition of Taiwan Civil Service Reform Drivers, has joined the firefighters in rejecting these alternative associations.
他们还是不愿意面对，好好的来去研究，如果今天公务人员可以组织工会的话，应该要怎么样来进行？因为在我们的这个整个会议当中，铨叙部并没有对于公务员能不能组工会有详细的评估跟研究。
The rule changes are now before the legislature, but with both officials and civil servants dug in, there's little sign this labor dispute is on its way to a resolution. Klein Wang and John Van Trieste for TaiwanPlus.
An opposition-led change to the process for recalling politicians has passed another hurdle in the legislature amid intense pushback from the ruling party. The amendment proposed by the main opposition KMT passed its second reading on Friday with support from the TPP, a smaller opposition party. It originally aimed to raise the threshold to recall elected officials, but after protests from the ruling DPP and civic groups, the new version maintains the former 25% threshold, but requires voters to present copies of their IDs. A third and final reading of the bill is still required. Former Vice Premier Zheng Wen-chan is behind bars in his ongoing corruption investigation. Prosecutors argue Zheng leaked details about his own case to an assistant and that his powerful connections could lead to further interference. Breen Thomas reports.
At the Taoyuan District Court, Zheng Wen-chan gets a last glimpse of freedom. The former vice premier is being jailed despite an appeal from his lawyer. Zheng's political career has taken many turns, from his 8 years as mayor of Taoyuan to the deputy premiership and most recently to the head of a body dealing with Taiwan-China business ties. But allegations of bribery over a land zoning deal when he was Taoyuan mayor in 2017 have brought his career crashing down. He's had to resign his latest post, and the ruling Democratic Progressive Party has suspended his membership for the next 3 years.
只要被收押的话，就开始停权3年。那因此，他是从明天7月12号开始起算3年。
At the request of prosecutors, the court has already reversed 2 earlier decisions to release him on bail. Zheng sent messages about his case to his secretary at the start of last month before he was questioned by prosecutors, showing he had inside information about the investigation. As a result, prosecutors persuaded the court that Zheng's powerful connections could mean even more interference. Cheng's now being held incommunicado.
凡入进入我们监狱的监狱看守所部分，我们会填写一个是否泄露，是要否让他的讯息给他的外面朋友知道。
Investigators are also looking into whether someone tipped off the landowner involved in the alleged bribery. One possible explanation for why the corruption claims went unreported for 7 years. James Lin, John Van Trieste, and Bryn Thomas for TaiwanPlus.
14-year-old meat has been sold at restaurants in Kaohsiung. Over 11 tons of expired meat were found at a frozen food warehouse and vendor. 4 restaurants, including one at the city's Intercontinental Hotel, are known to have purchased the meat. Health officials warned that kitchens that handle the meat could be contaminated. The vendor who sold the meat has been fined over $250,000. The ceremonial duties of the Honor Guard at Taipei's Chiang Kai-shek Memorial Hall are set to change after 40 years. The military guards will no longer do their hourly changeover performance in front of the former president's statue. Instead, they'll parade outside in the plaza every hour between 9 a.m. and 5 p.m. The Ministry of Culture says the change reflects evolving attitudes around transitional justice. Chiang Kai-shek is a controversial figure in Taiwan's history. He is seen as the leader who played an important role in the country's development, but who led a strict authoritarian government. Militaries from around the world are in the seas around Hawaii for this year's RIMPAC exercises. This year, a U.S. plan to create a high-tech fighting force to counter China is highlighting the demands of modern warfare. From Hawaii, Jaime Ocon has the story.
Every 2 years, dozens of countries send warships to the U.S. state of Hawaii for RIMPAC. It's the world's largest maritime exercise, lasting over 6 weeks. The goal is to practice working together against common threats, but the sheer size of these drills can be an obstacle.
So RIMPAC being 29 different countries participating in a single exercise, that is almost too large for any tangible progress on things like collective action plans. That kind of format is too large to really drill that sort of thing in a meaningful way.
That's why, in addition to working with allies and partners, countries like the U.S. are going forward with new ways to better prepare for a conflict. The U.S. says it wants to create a new kind of fighting force, and that plan is called Force Design 2030.
The purpose behind that initiative was essentially the U.S. had to transition away from the kinds of conflicts and the kinds of threats that it was engaged in at the time, meaning counterterrorism and how to move away from that, and tailoring it more toward the threats that we saw emerging in the Indo-Pacific.
Officials from the Pentagon say Force Design 2030 is designed to adapt to one threat in particular: China's military. For decades, Beijing has invested heavily in modernizing its armed forces and developing weapons that are able to strike U.S. bases within the first and the second island chain. These threats pose a challenge for the U.S., which has long been able to operate its military anywhere in the world with little resistance. Under Force Design 2030, the U.S. hopes a new military unit called the Marine Littoral Regiment can solve this problem.
We have some technology, such as small UAS and other sensors, that allows us to do reconnaissance in the maritime domain, which is one of the things that uniquely separates our battalion from other infantry battalions.
These Marines specialize in littoral combat zones, meaning on shorelines or between groups of islands, conditions common in the Western Pacific. The first Marine Littoral Regiment was set up in Hawaii in 2022. A year later, the second group was established in Okinawa. And now there are plans to set up a third group in the U.S. territory of Guam in the coming year. Equipped with advanced drones and anti-air missiles, these soldiers can respond quickly to any potential conflict.
The adversaries identified require a different type of thinking. This means being very lean, agile, and able to move, therefore being able to survive. So the Marine Littoral Regiment, underneath Force Design 2030 concepts, is there to fight in the littoral areas.
In a world facing multiple wars on different continents, units like these could play a crucial role and, the U.S. says, deter any further conflicts. And here at RIMPAC, this is an opportunity for other countries to learn from the U.S.'s lead, where the emphasis is on quality over quantity of forces. Jaime Ocon in Honolulu, Hawaii for TaiwanPlus.
One of the world's most expensive weddings has begun in Mumbai, but months of lavish celebrations have many asking, how much is too much? Harel Hughes reports.
Private performances from Justin Bieber and Rihanna, sparkling jewels and saris, and a guest list of former presidents and prime ministers, professional athletes, CEOs, and Bollywood heavyweights. After months of celebrations, the wedding of one of the world's wealthiest families has begun in India. Anant Ambani is the youngest son of Mukesh Ambani, the richest man in Asia. He is marrying his long-term partner, daughter of pharmaceutical tycoon Ratika Merchant. Their pre-wedding celebrations have lasted for several months, with private performances from global stars, curated outfits worth millions, a luxury cruise for 800 guests around the Mediterranean, and many, many lavish parties.
It's like a once-in-a-lifetime event that's happening in the Ambani family, and they've called so many artists from all over the world, and I think it's fabulous. It's helping the economy, it's helping everyone. India's coming to like the forefront of artists and everyone around the world, so I think if they have the money, they should spend it.
Honestly, I feel like it's the Ambanis, it's not even 1% of their total net worth. It's helping the economy, it's extravagant, but it's fine. I love that they're calling international artists to India to actually perform for the Indian public.
The wedding decorations around the family's 27-story mansion in Mumbai, a stark contrast to the tin-roof shanties and decrepit buildings just miles away. India has one of the highest rates of wealth inequality in the world. A study from the Wealth Inequality Lab found the country's inequality is now worse than it was under British colonial rule. The months of lavish parties have many asking, how much is too much?
It's their wealth, but it is beyond ridiculous what they're doing. Like, yeah, you have wealth, but yeah, we get it, you have wealth. That's it. Like, there's no need to show off that much.
ऐसा लगता है कि भाई उसको अल्लाह ने इतना दिया है तो वो कर रहा है. अब जो गरीब के पास में नहीं पैसा रहेगा तो उसकी बेटी का क्या होगा?
देखना क्या है, यही देखते हैं कि भाई की अमीर आदमी के कितना देखो, कितना शादी में कितना बड़े-बड़े लोग आ रहे हैं. कितना अच्छी बात है, लेकिन वो अच्छी बात की वजह से देखो दूसरा गरीब को भी देखना पड़ता है. गरीब को भी देखो ना जरा. वहाँ 50 करोड़ खर्चा कर रहे हैं, यहाँ गरीब खाने के लिए तरस रहा है.
As the Ambani wedding begins and the world's richest and most powerful flock to Mumbai, the lavish decorations serve as a reminder that the celebration is the best of times for some and the worst of times for the rest. Chris Ma and Harel Hughes for TaiwanPlus.
Taiwanese champion swimmer Wang Guanhong is heading to the Olympics despite missing a doping test after competition a few months ago. Wang took part in an event in Spain in May, but the International Testing Agency didn't get a sample to test for banned substances afterwards. Wang's lawyer says the swimmer did complete a test and that the sample may not have arrived because of miscommunication between the agency and hotel staff. Taiwan Sports Administration has arranged to allow Wang to compete in Paris despite the missed test. Thank you for watching What's Up Taiwan. You can visit the TaiwanPlus website and follow our social media for more stories from Taiwan and around the world. Finally, come along with us to Spain for the European Balloon Festival. I'm Ethan Liu. Take care, and I'll see you next time.